Manish, I'll share you after some time.
Okay.
At your time, I'll share it.
Okay.
Or will it be sufficient if I'll provide you for 1 minute only?
What, sir? Pardon?
I'll provide you for 1 or 2 minutes. Will it be sufficient for you?
Yeah, it's sufficient for me.
Okay, I'm providing you for 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So please, I have shared it. Please do. Yes, boss, it is coming. Make it full zoom. Yes, it is in full zoom. Fine. Now we can stop it, please. Because our live streaming, I made it. Okay, please. Dr. Manish, please stop the present PPT. বল মেসেজ দিয়ে দিচ্ছিস তো আমি তো অফই রেখেছিলাম। যার আমি সেমিনারে রয়েছি, কোথায় রয়েছিস? ঠিক ঠিক, আপনি পৌঁছে গেছিস তো? ঠিক আছে, আমি পরে কথা বলবো না, পরে রাখ। Bye. Suresh sir, good morning. Could you hear me?
Good morning, Halder Saab.
So, can we start the program?
Yes, please.
Good morning, everybody. Our Professor Suryaprakash Sab and distinguished as well as learned speaker, Dr. Manish Mehta, Mr. Ramchandra, and Mr. Anil Kathayet, as well as participant and panelist from our institute and others. I welcome you for this webinar today, that is the Glacial Lake outburst flood causes and consequences. So this is the second GLOF webinar so far within 3 months. Now today, in this webinar, we are having 3 distinguished and learned speakers. That is Dr. Manish Mehta, Mr. Ramchandra from RSS UP, and Dr. Manish Mehta, he's from Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology, Dehradun, and Mr. Anil Kathet. He was our colleague, but at present he is in CDC, Delhi, India, and he is technical officer. Now, before starting the keynote address, I'll say a few words regarding the GLOF as introduction. You know, the glacial retreat due to climate change occurring in most parts of the Hindu Kush Himalaya has given rise to the formation of numerous new glacial lakes, which are the major cause of glacial lake outburst floods. A GLOF is a type of flood occurring when water dammed by a glacier or a moraine is released suddenly. When glacier melt, the water in these glacial lakes accumulates beyond the loose naturally formed glacial as well as moraine dams made of ice, sand, pebbles, ice residue, etc. Unlike earthen dam, the weak structure of the moraine dam leads to the abrupt failure of moraine dam on top of the glacial lake, which holds large volume of water. A catastrophic failure of the dam can release the water over a period of minutes to days. Within a short span of time, it creates a havoc and causing in the extreme, in the downstream of the area, and it is giving the flooding. And such outbursts known as GLOF, have the potential of releasing millions of cubic meter of water in a short span of time and causing catastrophic flooding in the downstream. Peak flows as high as 15,000 cubic meter per second have been recorded in such events. As a result, the threat of GLOFs is receiving increased attention, awareness for the glacial lake monitoring and hazard mitigation. We, India, have realized last year in 2021 during winter what happened in the Chamoli district, and heavy casualty were there. Two power plants and infrastructure were washed away. A lot of people killed, and a lot of certain persons are missing also, and a lot of misery for the people in that area. So as a glacier retreat, the formation of Glacial Lake takes place behind the moraine or ice dam. Different types of lakes may have different levels of hazard potential. Glacial retreat due to climate change occurring in most parts of the Hindu Kush Himalaya, what I was telling, and given rise to formation of numerous glacial lakes, which are the cause of them. Now, the GLOF, which have been potential of releasing millions of cubic meter in a short period. Now, certain objectives are there. Now, what for and what is the reason for glacial lake outburst? We would like to hear from our learned person. How can we reduce the impact of glacial lake of this outburst plant? What is the early warning, or if at all, then we have to increase, and we should be aware for that. And what effect of glacial lake outburst have? So these are the certain things that we should expect from this. Now, with this, I will stop here, and I will request Professor Surya Prakash to put his keynote address. Before hand over the stage, I'll introduce him to Professor Surya Prakash. So, Professor Surya Prakash, just 1 second. He is a nodal officer for coordinating with the central ministries, departments of disaster risk management, related planning, research and capacity building for Ministry of Mines, Ministry of Coal, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Shipping, Department of Northeastern States, Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, and New and Renewable Energy, Ministry of Labor and Employment, National Postal Economy. He is the faculty in charge of 6 specialized centers on early warning and communication, hill area development, coastal DRR and R, CRDN, industrial DRR, and cyber DRR. He is also team leader in World Center of Excellence on Landslide Disaster Reduction from 2011 to 2014. Thereafter, again, he is there from 2020 to 2023. He is a supervisor as well in charge of flood monitoring, cell, and emergency operation system. With this, I request Professor Surya Prakash to put his keynote address over to our participants. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Halder. And good morning to all the distinguished experts, dignitaries of the inaugural program, delegates, and the participants. Am I audible, Halder sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I welcome each one of you in this program, focusing on the Glacial Lake outburst floods, causes, consequences, and controls. We have thought about this topic at this particular moment of time because during the last February 7th, 2021, we faced a major disaster due to a landslide and glacier breaching in the upper reaches of the Garhwal Himalayan region in the Joshimath block of the Chamoli district, Uttarakhand state. at about 8 minutes 45 seconds 10 a.m. on the 7th February, Sunday morning. This event had actually initiated and resulted into a major debris flow and flash floods in the downstream areas. It started from the Ronti Ghat, and then it blocked the Rishiganga River in the upstream areas, and thereafter it came down into the Dholiganga River, in which it affected the two major power projects, the Rishiganga power project as well as the Tapovan power project. Besides that, it has caused damages to several bridges, roads, and resulted into a casualty of about 207 people who were trapped alive in the tunnels in which they were working on that Sunday morning. So this was a very tragic incident, and similar incidents have been happening in the past also, be it the Glacial Lake outburst floods or the landslide dammed lake outburst floods. Keeping all these in mind, the National Disaster Management Authority actually constituted experts groups and committees in which they developed the guidelines. Initially, way back in June 2009, I remember, the national guideline on management of the landslides and avalanches was issued by the National Disaster Management Authority. Later on, in September 2019, a national strategy on management of landslides and other related disasters was also issued. The NDMA not only realized the sudden, swift, widespread impacts of the landslide, dammed lake outburst floods, avalanches, but also the GLOFs, and focused on this and prepared a national guideline on the GLOFs as well way back on in the month of October 2020. So the proactive actions were taken up, and in fact in the field also.
दूसरे अकाउंट से जा रहा है FMC GMR करके, ठीक है, उसको ज्वाइन करा दो।
हल्दर साहब, आपका माइक ऑन है, काइंडली कीप इट इन म्यूट।
प्लीज, ठीक ठीक। यस सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच सर।
Okay, so this actually invited further attention and seriousness from the highest level. The National Crisis Management Committee, under the chairmanship of Home Secretary, also overviewed the situation in the Uttarakhand state, and similar situations were also reported from the J&K as well as Himachal Pradesh and some parts of Arunachal Pradesh and Sikkim as well. So such instances in the high altitude areas have been affecting not only the environment, infrastructure, services, and structures in those areas, but also the human population which is habited in those areas. If you recall that incident of the Chamoli disaster, the Rani village, which is famous for that Chipko Andolan, Gora Devi used to live there, was also adversely affected, and many of the houses and local inhabitants, they were also trapped and became victim in this event, which was not exactly a glacial lake outburst flood, but the debris flow and flood happened because of a big landslide, which was incomparable and was considered to be one of the biggest reported landslide in that area of that altitude, which actually broke down the glacier body over it and brought out both the rock mass, debris, as well as the big chunks of ice and glacier mass down into the river valley. So these kind of events, they are actually alerts to our awareness and preparedness against disaster situations. So therefore, the situation was reviewed, a team was sent both to the upstream and the downstream areas to study the causes, factors, dimensions, and consequences of this disaster along with some recommendations for immediate action, short-term action, medium-term actions, as well as long-term actions to be taken by various stakeholders. Now, number of institutions within our country have been working on these disasters, particularly related to the process and phenomena of glacial lake outburst floods. But there is no dedicated institute which is focusing completely on the phenomena of GLOFs and LOFs. We have institutions like Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology, where we have one of the resource persons, Dr. Manish Mehta. UP Remote Sensing Application Center, we have Ramchandranji from there, and NRSC National Remote Sensing Application Center, then DGRE, the Defense Geoinformatics Research Establishment, as well as many other organizations like the National Institute of Hydrology, IIT Roorkee, and similarly there are many universities as well as academic and research organizations which have been working in this field. However, there is a need to synergize these efforts, synchronize these efforts in a complementary way so that the efforts can actually result into the delivery of the best practices as well as the benefits to the concerned stakeholders at the grassroots level. The communities in these high altitude areas which are often affected by these kind of disasters are actually quite ignorant about the forecasts, early warning systems available, or the generation maps available for the disasters in these areas. So we need to actually do many of the outreach programs to inform the local functionaries at the district level, block level, village levels, as well as all the concerned communities and people about the works that has been done our scientists, functionaries, and professionals into this area. With the occurrence of that event, in which fortunately I had been a part of that to learn about this event, and it was realized that we did not have a adequate, reliable, timely, and credible early warning system. As we say in early warning, stitch in time saves 9. So if the people had been actually informed in time, so that they could have evacuated that place or could have come out of the tunnels, and those lives could have been saved, even if the structures may not have been saved, but at least those human casualties, around 207 casualties were reported to have happened, could have been saved with these efforts. So we need actually an appropriate risk assessment, mapping, monitoring, early warning, preparedness, and also an efficient response mechanism as well as recovery mechanisms in these areas against such kind of disaster risk, which we are going to cover today. Our distinguished experts will be throwing more light on the various perspectives of glacial lake outburst floods and how these can be actually inventorized, mapped, monitored, detected, and we can establish an early warning system or respond against those situations. All these areas need to have their own disaster management plans at different levels, be it the village level disaster management plan, block level disaster management plan, or the district disaster management plan, and even at the state disaster management plans. So all these attentions are required, and resources also. I remember when we tried to evaluate the utilization of the resources, particularly from the private and the public or the corporate sectors, there are hardly any resources listed in our India Disaster Resources Network by the district authorities. So they need actually to compile all the data and information regarding the various types of resources that are available to them to meet the needs and challenges of such kind of disaster situations. Besides this, other stakeholders, for example, media, also need to be educated about reporting such disasters and also their own safety while reporting such disasters in those areas. And recently, we received a report that this lake, which was formed upstream in the Rishiganga Valley during the February 21 disaster has actually breached, and the water has, along with that material, has been released. So all such events need to be actually properly documented and notified with the people as well as the authorities. So there is a need to document all such disasters which have happened in the past, maybe from the sedimentological records of those areas, and also the current events which have been taking place, to document them well and record the lessons learned and actions taken, whatever, whether it was the right or the wrong actions, that will give us the directions for our road ahead. So we, in order to achieve the destination of our national policy on disaster management, which was released on 22nd October 2009, in terms of zero casualty, disaster free and resilient nation, and also the one of the goals under the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, we have to work intensively and widespreadly on these areas. And I wish all the best to the distinguished experts as well as delegates and the participants for this webinar on this theme. And I would request actually all the participants and delegates to do ask questions to the distinguished experts about the key takeaways that you need to acquire, the knowledge you need to know in order to actually deal with these kind of disaster situations. One is in risk management option, we always call about the aversion techniques that can be avoid our encounter with such disaster, avoid our encounter with disasters, or can we prevent the happening, the incidents or the impacts of these disasters. In case it is not possible, for example, in the changing climatic conditions, which has been envisaged to have actually changed the temperature conditions as well as the precipitation conditions in these areas, particularly in terms of rainfall intensities, distribution and onset of the monsoon seasons, and unusual and untimely rainfalls or snowfalls. These are very, very important factors to be accounted for. Even during the Chamoli disaster, one of the studies indicated the heat temperature changes in those areas, which result into melting of the glacier ice as well as more water discharge into the river systems, and therefore more toe erosion, slope instabilities, and chances of glacial lake outburst floods and landslide lake outburst floods. Another event I would just like to before conclude mention is the June 2013 event in Kedarnath area, where that Gandhi Sarovar Lake, which was also breached, where Wadia Institute was monitoring some of the glacier activities, was also very important in terms of number of casualties as well as the victims affected population, which was not only just the local inhabitant. In fact, the large number of people were from different states, and many of the states sent their representative to rescue their people. To the citizens, all the citizens need to be made aware, be training a part of our country, because these days the mobilities are very high. So we must know the potential disasters, the emerging disasters, and the existing disasters, which are likely to happen in a particular area within a particular season or a time. And then the other events, which can also be the cascading events. For example, this outburst floods led to many landslides, and landslides again dammed the river tributaries, again leading to the temporary or transitory lake outburst floods. And similarly, this region is very much prone to earthquakes. I remember the 20th October 1991 earthquake and the Chamoli earthquake in 1999, which also caused number of landslides and similar kind of lake outburst floods and debris flows. So I hope our experts will throw light with the multi-hazard perspectives, as is the envisaged in our national policy. And also we have to work together as a team. As we say, to team means together each achieve more, to deal with situations and act proactively, integrated and in a holistic manner, and develop a culture of risk assessment, prevention, mitigation, preparedness, efficient response, and quick recovery and resilience within our communities. So with these words, I wish all the best to everyone. A good, safe, healthy, and good quality life on an equitable, justifiable, and right-based manner with good fraternity amongst all of us. I would also request the distinguished will kindly keep your language simple, not too technical in nature, because many of the participants may not be with the scientific background. So our audience is normally multidisciplinary with different backgrounds. So it would be better if the difficult scientific terminologies may be avoided or explained in simple layman's language and terminologies. So with these words, I thank you for providing me this opportunity and wish you all the best for this webinar to every one of you. Thank you, Haldarji, and thanks to the organizing team and the host as well as the moderator.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for a very, very good vision for GLOF. You have given that what are the planning should be done, and the details you have told about the 2021 GLOF of this Samoli. And also you have informed about the present scenario, that lake, what is the status and what we should do and what we should maintain. Thanks a lot for the very good information regarding the GLOF. Now with this, we are going to start the technical session. For this, our first lecturer will be Mr. Ramchandra. He is a scientist, AC, and head from our Remote Sensing Application Center, UP, and he is also head of one division, that is Geospatial Data Division, RSS UP, and he will talk about the glacier in Himalaya and related hazards. Surging glacier in Himalaya and related hazards. Before hand over the stage, I introduce about to Ramchandra, to our audience. Mr. Ramchandra did his master degree in geology and completed his PG diploma in remote sensing from IIRS Dehradun. Previously, he was worked in DTRL, Defense Terrain Research Laboratory, New Delhi, and also worked at Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology, Dehradun. He joined RSAC UP, Lucknow in 1997. Presently, he is working as scientist AC and head of one division, that is Geospatial Data Division. His area of specialization in glaciology and river dynamic studies in Himalayan using remote sensing and GIS technology. Recently, he is working in rejuvenation as well as revival of dying rivers in Uttar Pradesh using geospatial technology. Overall, he is having 31 years experience in the field of remote sensing and GIS. He is having 53 research papers to his credit and 43 technical reports and 4 atlas related to Glacier. Mr. Ramchandra completed about 10 projects sponsored by DST, WWF, etc. Ramchandra is live member of different academic institutions. With this, I will hand over the stage to Mr. Ramchandra for his presentation to the audience. Mr. Ramchandra, please. I am sharing the button. Could you hear me, Mr. Ramchandra? I have given the share button to sharing to prompt to you. Now you can add your PPT. Mr. Ramchandra, could you hear me? Actually, maybe some problem, but of course he has started his sharing. Mr. Ramchandra, your voice is not coming. Your audio is not visible, not properly audible. He might be facing some problems. Of course, he is sorting out to viewing his presentation. He is having actually mobile internet connection problem. That's why audio is not coming. As is not coming, so you can start through your mobile. Participants, sorry for the inconvenience. He is trying, but I am trying also for the subsequently for the second speaker. He is also joining shortly. Dear participants, that our second speaker is joining shortly. Actually, Mr. Ramchandra is having some problem in the internet and this voice, that's why it is happening. Now, the second speaker is joining shortly, Dr. Manish Mehta. Of course, he has joined. Now, due to some problem, he was disconnected. Now he is joining. So please bear us.
हाँ बोलिएगा यहाँ पे
हाँ बोलिए रामचंद्र बोलिए. Now this voice is coming. Hello, Mr. Ramchandra, could you hear me? Yes, now our second speaker has joined. Dr. Manish, could you hear me? Dr.
Yes,
Manish?
sir, I hear. Yeah, I hear, sir. I heard.
So please, I am putting your introduction. So please start your presentation, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So, so Dr. Our second speaker, due to certain problem of the technical problem, Mr. Ramchandra could not start his PPT. Now, in the meantime, our second speaker, Dr. Manish Mehta, he will start the presentation. I'll introduce a brief introduction put about him. Dr. Mehta is a scientist at Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology. He has his master degree and PhD from HNV Garhwal University, Srinagar. He is working on glacier dynamics and natural hazards. He did tremendous work during Kedarnath disaster in 2013 and Rishi-Ganga disaster in 2021. So he has done really for our nation. We are proud for him. Dr. Mehta has published more than 45 articles in SCI journal and near about 20 articles in non-SCI journal. He also published a book on Glacial Lake inventory of Uttarakhand, Himalaya. Now with this, I'll hand over the stage to Dr. Manish. So please go ahead. I'll putting the share button to you.
So good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr.
Yeah.
Mehta, you are
Yeah.
audible.
Good morning, all of you. Director NIDM Professor Surya Prakash ji, Dr. A.L. Haldar, Consultant NIDM, ladies and gentlemen. I am presenting here, and my topic of presentation is the Glacial Lake outburst, flood causes and consequences. So we all know that the Himalaya is young and fragile mountain system, and the natural events every year, the lot of natural events like cloudburst and flash flood and avalanches and landslide is affect the ecosystem of this mountain system. So that's why we are presenting in the Glacial Lake outburst flood causes and consequences. So these are the some outline of my presentation. What is the glaciers and their distribution, morphology of the glaciers, and what is the glacial lake, what is the GLOF, what are the causes of the GLOF, and what could the consequences after the GLOF events. So first we come to the glacier, because the glacier is the most important part of the GLOF origin, and we must know about the glaciers for if we study about the GLOF hazards or GLOF events. So the glacier is basically a huge mass of the ice formed by the compaction and decrystallization of the snow due to its own weight and moving downward due to gravity. That means the glacier is formed by to the snow. Snow is accumulated in the higher altitude regions, and that snow in the form of a snowflake. After few time, to compaction of this snow due to its own weights or in the temperature and other meteorological parameter, its snowflake is converted toward the granular ice, and again it's converted to the fern. Fern is the higher density material in comparison to snow and granular ice. Again, this fern is compact and it formed to the glacier ice. That means the snowflake, which the fresh fallen snow and the glacier ice is quite different. Quite different, because the snow is a low dense material, but the glacier ice is the high dense material. So in the natural condition, if we see in the natural condition, this phenomena, this metamorphosis take more than 5 or 10 years to make a permanent glacier ice in the upper reaches or in higher elevation region. So what glacier, these are the some fact of the glacier. In the overall world, we can see that the 15 million square kilometer area is covered by the ice, and the 10% of the total land area is covered by ice. This is 10% of the total land area. And the most important thing is the fresh water of that region, fresh water of the earth, and the 75% of the ice as a reserve of the fresh water in the land surface of any livelihoods. The Himalayan glacier. Next, we come to the Himalayan glacier. Himalayan glaciers is cover more than 60 or 60,000 square kilometer. It is the part of the India, Nepal, and Pakistan. We are talking about the southern slope of the glaciers and not a Chinese part of the glaciers. And it's occupying the 70% of the mountain range. And the India, Nepal, and Pakistan, the India and total number of the glacier is near about 20,000 small and big glaciers. And the maximum area of the glaciers covered in the Indian part of the Himalaya. So this is the worldwide distribution of the glacier. Here you can see that the maximum concentration of glaciers in the Antarctica region, which covered 80%, 84% of the glacier's ice, and the second one in the Arctic region is Greenland region. Greenland and Arctic region, which covered 14% of the glacier's ice. But what we have seen in the total Earth in this globe, the Himalaya is covered 0.77% of the ice, which is the third number of the ice cover area in the region. That's why this region is called third pole. Again, we come into the Indian part of the Himalaya. So here what we have seen, the Indian part of the Himalaya, we distribute this part in the 3 zones on the basis of the climate research or climatically. This is the western part of the Himalaya, and this is eastern part of the Himalaya, and this one is the center part of the Himalaya. So climatically, how can distribute this region? The western part is precipitated by the western disturbance, is dominance in that regions, and whereas the eastern part is the Indian summer monsoon is dominant in this region. That means the glaciers is maximum faded by this western part is faded by the westerlies or western disturbance, and the eastern part is the maximum glaciers is faded by the Indian summer monsoon. And this is the center part of the Himalaya is the Uttarakhand and Nepal regions. So this zone is equally precipitated by to the Indian summer monsoon and winter westerlies disturbance. So the characteristic of these glacier is different. This is the extreme continental type glaciers is occurred in this particular regions of the Himalaya, and the almost temperate glaciers, we can say temperate, or in the maritime glacier, which is faded by to the oceanic climate, and that is the maritime glaciers is occurred in this particular region. The center Himalaya is a combined of these both weather systems. So these glaciers we know the glaciologists basically know these glaciers as a continental type. This is the extreme continental, this is continental type, and we can say that this is the polythermal type glaciers, which characteristic is the mix with the western and eastern Himalayan glaciers. So this is the distribution of the glaciers. In the maximum glaciers found in the Himalayan regions in the western Himalayan part, and it's cover almost 55% of the glaciers in that regions, and the minimum percentage of the eastern part of the Himalaya. Again, second one, the morphology of the glaciers. So what is the morphology? We must know about the morphology of glacier to understand the GLOF phenomena in the regions in the mountain terrain. This is the glaciers, and this is the Chorabadi glaciers in the Kedarnath Valley, who is the one of the major site for 2013 disaster. So we can see this is the ablation zone of the glacier. Ablation zone is that zone where is the melting is the higher in comparison to accumulation of the snow, and this is the accumulation zone of the glacier where the melting is lower than the accumulation of the snow in this region. So this two zone divided by to the one line, and that's called the equilibrium line altitude. There is the two things. One is the permanent snow line, and one is the equilibrium line altitude. Equilibrium line altitude is just different to the permanent snow line, and this is the snow out zone of the glaciers. Snow out zone of the glaciers, and here is the Chorabadi. Here was the Chorabadi Lake is situated in that particular region. This is another glacier companion ablation zone of the companion glacier. So here you can see a zoom of this regions. So this is the equilibrium line altitude, and which divide it so that the equal mass balance is the 0 in this particular region. That means that no gain or no loss line is the glaciers, and this is the upper part and the end part of the glaciers known as the Brunchutes. It is contact between the ice and the rock face of the region, of the area of the valley, we can say. So next we come into the Glacier Lake. What is the Glacier Lake? Basically, broadly, Glacier Lake is divided into the 4 categories. One is the proglacial lake, second one is the supraglacial lake, third one is the glacial erosion lake, and fourth one is the periglacial lake. Proglacial lake is that lake which formed in the front of the glaciers. That's called the proglacial lake. Is dammed by to the terminal moraine, lateral moraine, and recessional moraine. Terminal moraine, that moraine which formed during the time of the advancement of the glaciers. Lateral moraine is also formed during the time of the advancement glacier. It is the laterally both sides situated in the both sides of the glacier. And recession moraine is those moraine which formed during the time of the glacier recession. Again, the supraglacial, next one is the supraglacial lake. This lake is formed over the surface of the glaciers. That means this is due to the melting of the surface melting, and show that the glaciers melting, it's formed in the top of the glaciers, and it's dammed by to the supraglacial moraine. That debris which over the glacier surface make some lakes, and this again ice dammed lakes. Ice also be dammed these some waters and make lakes. Again, the glacier erosion lake. These lakes are like glacier erosion lake is like shark lake. When the glacier is completely vanished or leave some depression in the front of the glaciers or in the back of the glaciers, and this depression is a well home for to the water, and the water is accumulated in that particular depression known as a glacier erosion lake. And the last one is the periglacial lake. Periglacial lake is no contact with the glacier melt contribution in these lake, but this is formed due to the in middle and lateral moraine. That means it's precipitated, it faded by to the snow or rain, but glacier contribution is not in these lake. So again we show you some lakes. This is the proglacial lake. That means this one is the glaciers in the Karakoram regions. Karakoram region, this glaciers in Sasarla Pass, unnamed glacier is this one. And these are the lake. You see these big, almost big lake, very big lake. And this lake is dammed by the lateral moraines. These are the moraines, lateral and recessional moraine. Here you can see some morainic material in that portion, and this material is as a embankment of this water, this flowing water, and there is no seepage, though outlet is a little outlet is seen here, and this lake is formed in the front of the glaciers. This is called proglacial lake. So again, this is the photograph from the Nepal, Langtang Valley, I think Langtang Valley and that regions. This is the proglacial lake, and it's also, you can see here, this is the lateral moraine of the glaciers. It is formed during the time of the advancement of the glacier. There is, you can say, there is the 2 stages of the glacier advancement. One is here and another here. But this is not a glacier advancement stages. These are the recessional stages, and we know that it is the trim line of the glaciers. So this is the another glacier lake. It is formed just in front of the glaciers and dammed by to the lateral or terminal moraine, as well as is the recessional moraine of the glaciers. Again, we are coming to the supraglacial lake. These lake is formed in the over the glacier surface, on the glacier surface. This formed and is dammed by to the glacier ice. These are the glacier ice. You can see easily visible in this region. These are the glacial ice and some glacial over surface debris. It's called the supraglacial debris. Again, this is the one of the interesting picture we have taken from the Google Earth. Here you can see in the some lakes, like this is the 2001 photographs, and how the glacier lake expand. These pictures I can show you. See you here, this is the Basundhara Tal, one of the very important lake in the Uttarakhand regions, and it is very hazardous. If it's breached, it's do a lot of destruction and disaster in the downstream valley, because its downstream valley in many villages is just situated or located just bank of the river, like Niti village and the Gamsali, Malari, and all villages are situated below in this particular Basundhara Lake. This is the pro-glacial lake. It's formed due to the melting of these glaciers and dammed by the these recessional and lateral moraine. These are the some small again lakes. And again, the next lake is in the formed in the surface of the glacier. These are the some supraglacial lakes. You can see here, here, and here. And again, one periglacial lake is this particular region. This is the periglacial lake. There is no contribution of the snow melt in this lake. This is snow faded and the rainwater faded lake. This is periglacial lake. In 2001 is the scenario of this is the Comet Glacier and this is Rekana Glacier. This is the scenario of the glacier. And 2017, what we have been seen that this lake is also increasing and increase in the area. Is more vulnerable in comparison to 2001, and these supraglacial lake is expanding in the nature, you can see, but this periglacial lake is almost in the same conditions, and here also in the sun supraglacial lake is appear. So these are the supraglacial lakes. Again, the glacier erosion lake. So this is the front view of a holy Hemkund Sahib, the famous pilgrim places of the Sikha. This is a typical cirque, amphitheater safe like structure. You can say this is the armchair safe valley. This is typical cirque lake and it's blocked by dammed by in the hard rock. You can see this is the hard rock and this hard rock is dammed this lake. This is the end part of the glacier where the glacier cirque, where the accumulation zone of the glaciers, and its move and its maximum erosion capacity in the end portion of the glacier, and that form in one depression in that region. So this is the erosional lake, and this is Hemkund Sahib Lake. Again, this is the downstream view of the Hemkund Sahib Lake. You can see here this lake, and this is another famous lake is the Kaghbhusandi Tal. Kaghbhusandi is also in the same way. This is in the Lakshmana Ganga catchment, and this is in the Vyudar Ganga catchment in the route of Valley of Flower and Hemkund Sahib. These are the erosional lake. Again, we come in the periglacial lake. So these are the periglacial lake which formed in the periphery of the glacier. This is one of the again famous lake is known as the Satopant Lake. It is the very famous for Hindu pilgrims and Hindu peoples, Satopant lakes. We can say that the Pandava went to the Shwarg from this route. And this is the Satopant Glacier. This is Satopant Glacier and the ablation zone of the Satopant Glacier, this lake. And this lake is faded by to the snow melt and the rainfall, snow melt, but there is no contribution of the ice in this particular lake. And this is second, this was a Chorabadi Lake, which is the most culprit for to the disaster of the Kedarnath in 2013. This lake is Chorabadi Lake, and this is the Chorabadi Glacier. Again, there is no contribution for to the glacier melt or ice melt in this lake. So next we can say what is the GLOF. GLOF is a glacial lake outburst flood. So why this lake is bursting and what is the causes behind this lake is bursting and devastated in the downstream valley. So if this lake is burst in the Himalayan region and the gradient of and the slope is higher in this particular regions, and that washed all the debris, carried all the debris, and it's deposited in the downstream valley, and then these make a more vulnerable in the regions and due to the maximum disaster in the downstream valley. So this is the glacial lake burst through in the beach of the flood valley, and the GLOF are also killing is capable to killing a tens of thousand to 100 kilometer of the downstream in the valley. So Next, what are the causes of the glacial lake outburst flood? These are the some causes: ice melt, ice break, landslide, avalanche, and tectonic forces. Here, this is the some pictures from Bhutan Himalaya satellite pictures published by Zhang et al. 2019. Here you can see these are the some proglacial and supraglacial lake. First one, the ice melt is the causes. If this lake is formed due to the dammed by the ice, and suddenly due to the global warming and or we can say some activities, this ice will be melt. If it is melt, this whole water, this ice is also melt, this whole water is moved downwards, and it is one of the major causes for devastation in this particular valley, maybe. And then ice break. If this ice, this is the glacier front, and if it is located in the higher slope and it's break down and fell in this lake, and is this lakes generate some waves, and these waves again break this outlet of the glaciers, break part this outlet glacier, and this also be causes of the disaster in downstream valley. Landslide, if this lake, some landslide is occur in this particular regions, and it again generate the wave of this lake, and this is also causes for to the disaster in this region. Suppose the landslide is occur in this particular region. And then avalanches, some avalanches in the summertime or the early summertime will be generated or triggered in this lake. This is also causes for to the lake outburst flood. And the tectonic forces, if some earthquake will be generated in this particular regions, may be causes of the glacial lake outburst flood in the region. So these are the some dynamics of glacial lake. Here you can see this is the glaciers, and this is the lake of the glacier lake. And if the water is calm in the static in the conditions, the maximum pressure of the water, basically the calm water pressure in the downstream, this is the vertical column, the maximum pressure of the water is in the vertical column, not horizontal column. So there is no force will be generated in this particular morainic material. So there was one small ice is intact with the moraine, and suddenly this ice is melt out. That means ki here is some vacant space will be happen in this particular regions, and this vertical column of the pressure again shifted towards this horizontal column, and this pressure is just stressed and just trust these regions. And if this moraine is unconsolidated, so this force will be hit this particular zone, and it could be breached, and then it's one of the causes of the disaster. Here you can see that second one is the ice break, which I said earlier in the slides. If the ice is break in this particular regions, again is fell down, the vertical column is here, and the wave is generated, and this vertical column of the pressure suddenly change their direction to the horizontal column and scoop this morainic material from this particular run. It is one of the causes of the GLOF disaster. So this is the best example of the Kedarnath region. For this is somebody say this is not a GLOF, somebody say this is a GLOF, but the activities is almost same like GLOF. One avalanche hit this Chorabadi lake, and again the wave is generated from here in the surface of the lake, and the vertical column of the pressure suddenly changed to the horizontal column, and its scoop is whole material I will see you in the next slides. Is whole material, and this debris is deposited in the Kedarnath township and downstream of the valley, and this is the maximum disaster in Uttarakhand, and we can say this is the extreme events of the disaster in Uttarakhand regions. So what is the risk basically? What risk in the glacier regime and the glacial lake? So we can say number one is the size of the glacier. If the glacier size is bigger and the lake is formed in the front of the glaciers and the global warming process is going in the same conditions, so the lake level is continuously increasing, and the morainic the embankment moraine or the dammed moraine may be losing their strength due to the size of the melting of the lake. Again, the melt rate, it is almost same melting of the lake, and the size of the lake also increasing in this is this condition. And if the size is increased, so the strength of the moraine is lose their strength, and it could be a disastrous or hazardous.
Again, some problem is there, it seems. So please bear us. He will be coming back shortly. Mr. Monish is trying, Dr. Monish is trying for that. हाँ, क्या हुआ? आवाज नहीं आ रहा है आपको? विजिबल भी नहीं हो रहा है? हाँ, आपका वॉइस नहीं आ रहा है? Yes. Mr. Monish, Dr. Monish, again, voice is not coming, PPT is changing. Dr. Monish, could you hear us? So this is the effect of our internet. He's trying his level best. Of course, his slides are changing, but again, voice is not coming. Maybe similar fashion was there for Ramchandra, and his voice was not coming, and here also. So he's trying his level best. Dr. O'Neill, you are here? Mr. O'Neill Katayet, could you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
So you please get ready. Immediately after that, you have to start your PPT.
Okay.
Actually, today that everywhere this some problem is their internet. Mr. Ramchandra has faced the problem, and now Dr. Manish Mehta, after a certain presentation, he is also facing the same problem. We'll see if within 2 minutes if it is there, well and good, or else you have to start the program. So please be aware. Indeed, it was a very good presentation for the GLOF. He was showing the root causes and what are the basic things. All the things are there, but suddenly it was snapped, his voice, due to the technical snag. But of course, he will come back shortly, and it's very beautiful session for our this GLOF. We hope let him join shortly. So these are the problems for the internet. We don't have this any remedial measure for that. Of course, somebody has asked that such catastrophic events are occurring in Himalayan. So what are the preventive measures? But especially for the internet, we don't have, because it is IT field, they can improve. We don't have in our hand. But for the glacier also, this is a nature's phenomena, but we have to take preventive measure for the different infrastructure. Now Manish is with us, he is visible. Dr. Manish, could you hear us?
Yeah, sir. You just shared documents,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please, Dr. Manish, please go ahead. So Dr. Manish is with us. Again, he'll be sharing all these to the technical slack from there, from he is there. Now it is coming. We expect.
I'm sorry for inconvenience. Now I'm starting from.
You go
same
ahead.
slide.
Yes,
Yeah.
after that, please go.
Yeah, these are the some risk factor for to the
yes.
here, na?
Yes.
Okay.
In the last part, you
Yeah.
are telling risk factor, population.
Yeah. These are the some risk factor which I'm presenting, and now. Oh, just wait. Now what we will do, we do the establish of the risk model, complete the lake inventory using the better imagery, survey, field survey for the most of the risk lake, monitor regular development of the mitigation of strategy and development to the early warning systems, and establish this early warning system in that regions which is we identify for to the risk assessment, and then lower lake level gradually we will do the lower level lake level gradually due to the piping or other activities. So this is the one of the lake which we are monitoring in on the basis of satellite image is the Gepangat Lake. It is in the Himachal Pradesh, located in the Himachal Pradesh, and this lake is formed in the front of this Sisu glaciers. Here we can see 1989 this lake was very small lake in the front of the glacier, but in 2017 it is increased their size and area. So these are the we can continuously use and monitor use the satellite high resolution satellite image and monitor these type of lakes in the Himalayan regions. Again, what was the consequences of this particular GLOF events? Here you can see this is the Kedarnath June 2013 and this is the Chorabadi Lake in October 2008. There was a very little amount of the water in this lake, and I never seen this lake in a full by the water. I am continuously work in 2008 to 2013 in this valley for the monitoring of the Chorabadi Glacier, but I never seen this lake is full by the water. But in Here you can see in the October and November 2011, it is completely dry. There is no water in this lake. But in what we have seen in 6 June, our team was in this particular place, and we returned back in June 17, June 7 in 2013. So we observed that the winter of June in January and February and 2013 December, November, December, a heavy precipitated in that regions in the form of snow. This snow is accumulated in this lake regions, and that lake regions in the thick avalanches is also is in here. We measured that during that time we measured the more than 10 or 15 and 8 meter of the thickness of the avalanches in this particular in this valley. So after 14 and till 18 till 16, the continuous rain is precipitated in that region. So due to that rain and the temperature, this whole ice snow is melt out and fill this lake, because the outlet of this lake is completely blocked by the lateral moraine, and there is little bit seepage of this region to out in the form of outlet in the little bit seepage in that regions. So this is completely full after 14 and 15 June 2013. Suddenly one avalanche is trigger from this particular regions. Here you can see this avalanche. You can see this is the avalanche remnant is in this particular in this region. Avalanche is triggered in this lake, and this lake is suddenly washed out and breached. The material of this moraine, it is almost I measured, it is almost 40 meter, 35 to 40 meter in from this region to this region. So this completely breach and completely scoop, like the water is scooping this particular place, and make here is a deep valley type or gauze type in this particular region, and all debris is deposited in the downstream valley. So this is, you can see that this is the Chorabadi Tal, and this is the Chorabadi glaciers, and this region, and this is the almost 30 to 40 meter thick moraine which was just scooped by this water. Here you can see this is the lake, this was the lake, and this was that avalanche which is the major culprit for this Kedarnath disaster in during 2013. So this is the valley, and whole water is flowing from this valley and the glacier regions and accumulated in the downstream yield. So this you can see, this side is the Chorabadi Lake, and this is the pictures Chorabadi Lake, and this was the old picture, pre-disaster picture of the Kedarnath regions. This is, and again after the disaster, this lake was breached from here, and it's accumulated all debris in this region. This is the Kedarnath temple, you can see, and the upper part of the Kedarnath regions and the heavy and the house and infrastructure of upper part is completely demolished and completely washed away by this disaster. Here you can see this is the close-up view of the temple and the upper settlement of the regions, and this was completely washed by this disaster. So again, what's the consequences in the downstream due to this disaster? This is the one of the famous site in the region is Rambada. Rambada was a good site, and there is a more than 100 shops and stoppages in this particular regions. This completely washed out, and there are no remnant of the habitation in this regions. And the high flood level was more than 130 to 125 meter from the base of the river. So the second one is the Gaurikund region. Gaurikund is the very famous for hot water spring, and this region is also completely washed out. You can see here the Gaurikund is this region, and this downstream the lower portion of the Gaurikund is completely washed out. And this is the one of the very famous part of the Kedarnath region is the Ghoda Padao. The maximum pilgrims take horse from this particular sites, and and it is very crowdy in the every during the time of the Kapat open and Kapat closed time, and this was a huge crowd is in this particular. But after the disaster, this zone is completely washed out by the disaster. So you can see that the magnitude and the impact of the Himalayan disaster. Again, consequences, this is the again same in 2013, 15 and 16 and 17 June. You can say this is the tributary of Alaknanda river is the Khiro Valley. Khiro Valley is again also again the witness of this major disaster. Here you can see there is the old landslide, and then a scar of the landslide is seen from this particular here in this region. Due to the heavy rain in the 14, 15 and 16 June 2013, this whole material is a descending down, and it's just accumulated in the base of Khiro Valley, and it's make here in the temporary lake. This lake is after a few time of the rain, and that this lake is breached, and this make a huge disaster in this valley. You can say that the pre-events photographs in here, a thick forest cover in this valley. You can see forest and very nice valley is the Khiro Valley, but after the disaster, it's completely ruined. Here you can see, and the one in the downstream of this particular region is a one hydropower dam built by the JP company, and this is a very good dam, and location side is very good. But after the disaster, it's the photograph of during the disaster. Here you can see that the completely filled by the debris, debris, and the water could not be breached this particular abutment of the dam, and it's just flow and backsides, and it's eroded in the side wall of the road and valley, and it's completely washed out in the downstream. Here you can say the after disaster. So this disaster is simultaneously this disaster occurred in the Lakshmana Ganga region in the Hemkund Sahib of Belly Flower route. This is the view of Vyudar Valley. This is Vyudar Ganga, and this is the Lakshmana Ganga. This is the confluence of the Vyudar. Here one small village located in the Vyudar village is called. It's very famous village. During the discovery of the Valley of Flower, Frank and Smith was stay in this particular valley, a particular village in a long time for 1 or 2 months. They was stay here. So due to this disaster, this valley is completely washed out. Here you can see this is the small village in that particular region, and these are some agriculture field. These all are completely washed out. Here you can see the village, and in the downstream of this village, again one village is the Pulna village. It is also the very famous village in this region. Here you can see before the disaster, this village is just more than 100 or 60 meter above from the river bed. But after the disaster, and the river is just reached in the village, and they trap the whole villages in this particular zones. So here you can see that the pictures of the village, Pulna village, and this is the after disaster picture in the village. And another one of the famous site of the Govind Ghat regions. Here you can see this is the Govind Ghat is the last stoppage of the Hemkund's Yatris. Hemkund's Yatris, they stay here in the big Gurudwara in that regions, and the thousands of vehicles are accumulated in this. This is the scooter parking, this is the car parking was here in before 2013, and this is the rivers which already very less water in the Alaknanda in that particular these regions. So here you can say this is the lean period photographs basically in the winter time season, but the water quantity is not much in this region. So during the disaster, the flood is reached from this building is reached from this building and washed out these all vehicle parking, hotels, and these all you can say this reach is here and completely washed these particular places in this region. You can see, and that this building is just broken and fell down in this building. You can see here, and similarly the confluence of the Alaknanda and Lakshmana Ganga regions. Here you can see that this is the Alaknanda and this is Lakshmana Ganga before the disaster photograph. It is the during the disaster time photographs in these regions. Here you can see is the huge amount of the water come from the Lakshmana Ganga, and again huge amount of water come from the Alaknanda. So this is the powerhouse site in the Govind Ghat, and this completely washed out. You can see that the post-disaster photograph in these regions. So it is completely washed out. Only one and two houses is remain after the disaster in this region. So this is the upper view of the Govind Ghat regions. Here you can see during the time of the disaster, and these are the some hotels. Only one building is remain after the disaster. All are washed away. So this is another photographs of Sigri village. This is we went to there in the this is the route of Dronagiri glaciers, and this is in the Dhauliganga basin, and the just backside of this we went to Dronagiri. Is backside from this side is the Dronagiri glaciers, and this is the Sigri glacier near about the Jumma. In 2001, field photographs show that there was one small village in these regions, and one school is also here, and some agriculture field. But this village is also located in the old floodplain of the river. In 2002, in some flood is come from these regions, and it again is washed from this part of the village, and but 2003 we have seen that the village is completely washed out. So these are the effect and magnitude and the impact of the disaster, or in the flash flood, or in the GLOF in the Himalayan regions. So next we did some work in the Rishiganga disaster. This is one of the very miracle which disaster in come in the winter time, because the maximum disaster of Himalaya, almost all disaster come in the Himalayan region in summer time. But this disaster, this is the only one disaster which recorded in the history started, or it's occurred in during the time of winter in this February, in the month of February. So what is the causes of this disaster? Basically, I have published a paper in the Current Science, and then I shot out the problem of the glaciers of this events. So here we can, what we have seen, that this zone is located in the center crystalline zone, and the second formation of the Vakrita group is called Joshimath formation. Joshimath formation is just above of the MCT. MCT is the main central thrust, which divided in the lesser Himalaya and the upper Himalaya of the region. So the Joshimath formation is formed by the garnet bearing mica schist, and this rock is, due to the physical and chemical weathering, this rock is physical and chemical process, this rock is weathered very fast weathering conditions of this rock. So here what we have seen, we went to there and we have seen that this whole material is 760 meter of the slab, which completely weathered, highly weathered in these regions. So here you can see this is the highly region, and these are the rock which are the highly region. So there is the two things, one is the rock type and another is the global warming. When the glaciers is detached with the main body in the top of the glaciers, top accumulation and accumulation zone, ablation zone is both are connected to the very strong bonding. So there is no problem in the Himalayan region. But suddenly global warming, glacier are receding back and is vacate the area. In that particular vacate the area and expose the rock surface. And the same condition is here. The rock surface is exposed, and then what we have seen, then the upper part of the glaciers, one crevasses is transverse crevasses is formed in the upper zone just near about the brunkshoot of the glaciers. This is the brunkshoot of the glaciers, and one crevasses is open, and this crevasses is just detached from this ice to main body, this ice to main body ice. But what happened, the rock of this region is highly weathered and it could not bear the load of this particular ice mass. So the ice mass is more heavy, and thus it just you can say thus buckled, thus just you can say thus dropped down in these regions. So what we have seen after the after just 1 day or 2 day after this disaster, we did not see any evidences of the blow, any evidences of the rock fall in downstream, because this is the very powdery type rocks. When it's fall down, it's just all material is formed in the powder. So there is no evidence. But what we have observed, there is the already some lakes is in that regions formed by some lake. That means this was the gradually process, and we can say it is slowly or dhire dhire that all material is come down and make some lake in the downstream. And after the major events will have happened, the all lakes and water accumulated and go to downstream. So here we can just try and just make a sketch to understand this process. So what we have seen that there is the this is the glacier, hanging glacier, and some crevasses already rock is weathered, and the some jointed. Previous slides we have seen. We have seen that the rock is the highly jointed. Here you can see highly jointed, and two type of joints we have observed in this valley. Two type. One is the wedding joint, and another is just across this bedding that is called oblique joints in that region. And again, what we have seen that this is the gradually, and the ice is melt, and this is gradually down in these regions and make some ponds in the regions. After the major events, this whole waters and mix with the debris and slurry material is moved downwards and make a huge disaster in that regions. Here you can see these are the some old landslides remnants in 2016 Google Earth photographs. These are the some avalanche or some, you can say some avalanche, and some also ice part is here, because this is the kettle holes type structure which is formed in the ice surface, not a soil surface. It is formed in the ice surface. These are the some kettle holes in that region. So after the disaster, they accumulated and they accumulated and pick all these material in the downstream and deposit it in the downstream. So these are the some consequences is that regions, the whole Rishiganga project is washed out. This is the one lake formed in these regions, but after this lake was some satellite image so that this lake was also released and drain out. These are the some, this is the confluence of Alaknanda and Dholiganga. Here we can see that the deposited debris is more than 20 or 30 meter above from the previous level of the river, and this is the 50 meter above one bridge which is washed out. Only the wire of the bridges remain in here, and these are the flood level. And this is the Tapovan hydropower projects, you can see here. And these are the some lakes which formed due to the blocking of Rishiganga in this disaster. This is the Rishiganga, and the Rothi is coming from this particular zone. And this is my last slide, and it is I demonstrated and elaborated in these slides. So the what is the conditions of the Himalaya? These type of the activities is continuously going on the Himalaya, and this is the part of Himalaya because it is the young and tectonically very active region. So in the old picture, we have published one paper in geoscience journal. What we have seen that there was two glaciers flowing in parallel in this region, but suddenly after in the LGM, last glacial maxima, when the glacier again advancement, it could not follow their own valley, and its break this particular ridge and again flow to this another valley. That means these kind of events are general in the Himalayan regions. So this is just truncate this valley. Here you can see is the clearly this is the old moraine of the glaciers, and during after the LGM advancement, this glacier truncated this valley, cut this ridge and reached from this valley. So we demonstrate these things in this sketch, Here, this is the two glacier moving parallelly. There was one structurally controlled glaciers in this region. This glacier is controlled by the structure, and after the second glaciation, it's just moved from this valley. So these are the some we can say activities and which are continuously going in the Himalayan region. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Monish. It is a very, indeed, it was a very beautiful presentation. All those consequences, especially for this, this our Uttarakhand, what happened in 2013, what are the causes, and what are the remedials also. You have given some hints, and you have elaborated why it has taken during winter in 2021, the Rishiganga, that was heavy. What was the causes? Especially the mica, that formation is the one of the major factor, and other certain things elaborate very beautifully. You have elaborated to our participants. Overall, it is very good presentation. Due to, of course, some technical snag was there, but we cannot, we cannot underestimate, or we cannot forget that one also. Otherwise, it's a very beautiful presentation. Very nicely you have elaborated that huge significant topic. That is a very complicated topic, but still you have elaborated very nicely. So very, I put my very thanks to you. Nice presentation. Let me see if any question is there. Dr. Monish, please.
Okay, sir.
Now, one fellow is asking, that is Anjali Verma,
Yeah.
that how can we prevent this hazardous glacial outburst of lake or reduce the chances of flood that is causing us. And apparently she is asking that post situation affect us very much. We suffer physically, mentally, emotionally a lot. So could you please answer her? How can we prevent this hazardous glacial outburst? Of course, you have explained time to time that what are the preventive measures, but still, please answer to her.
Basically, the preventing measure of these first we think these are the all are the natural process, and we can't stop these all the process, but we aware the people who live in the mountain regions, and then the mitigate the impact of the disaster. If the all people who live in the mountain regions are aware about these all disaster in the higher regions, so we can mitigate and we can prevent this disaster.
Thank you. Nice presentation. So far, I could not get it except one that some failure was there. That was the answer I have given already. So nothing more than that. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mehta.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Aapko bhi thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thanks you and thanks NIDMA. Thank you, sir.
Now we'll go for the last presentation, that is by Mr. Anil Kathayet. Mr. Anil, you are there?
Yes, sir.
Your voice is very feeble. Could you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, no problem. Now our Anil Kathayet, he will talk about the emerging issues and innovative strategies for landslide in risk management. That is also related to the GLOF. Now, before putting the stage to him, hand over to this. Now, I will put introduction about him. Just 1 second, please. So, Mr. Anil, he was our colleague. Now he has joined in other organization. Of course, he's a very real asset for that. Now, Anil is a presently he's a technical officer over there in CDC, and he has his postgraduate in geosciences, geology. With over 8.5 years, he was in the field of landslide hazard management and disaster management. He has that experience. And prior to prior to the NIDM also, he has worked in prestigious organizations such as UNDP, NIUA, CRRI. He penned more than 20 research papers on various aspects of landslide, hazard mitigation and management. Inter alia contributed in drafting engineering guidelines for landslide mitigation measures in Indian rocks. With this, with this introduction, I'll hand over the stage to Anil Kumar for his presentation to this.
Thank you very much, sir, for such a nice intro. Sir, I will request kindly assign me privilege to share my screen.
Just 1 second.
Sure, sir. Sir, I hope my PowerPoint is visible.
Yes, yes, it is visible and you're audible also.
Okay, thank you very much once again. And Institute of Disaster Management for providing this opportunity to me to share my thoughts on the emerging issues in Himalaya. My previous speaker has already touched the basic characteristics of these glacial formed lakes and floods that due to glacier a breach of any glacier filled lake, as well as various. He also talk about various risk factors that are associated with glacier GLOFs. And as he mentioned, that Himalaya is also known as the third pole of our planet, and they are still rising as one of the world's youngest mountain range, and they are becoming increasingly vulnerable. And you can say that our vulnerability index of Himalaya is altering because of changing patterns of climate change, and these mountain range are, as you know, ecological hub that are serving whole nation with these resources. And uh, uh, the world youngest mountain range due to its tectonic activities, due to its geological, geomorphological setup, its watershed, besides, of course, climate change, it also magnetizing disasters of different intensity and frequency, especially geometeorological disasters such as earthquakes, floods, landslides, Glacial Lake outburst flood on which today's webinar is focusing. Then there is also cloudburst, flash floods, as well as apart from GLOF, there is other phenomena, landslide, dam, lake outburst flood, which is also threatened the Himalayan region. They have given some unforgettable scars in the history. As you know, the Himalaya, it is stretched across 2,500 kilometers in India that covers around 13 Indian states, and as well as UTs like Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, and it includes states like Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, as well as 7 sister cities of our northeast. And basically, these Indian states, UTs, they make up the Indian Himalayan region, and it has diverse population. It has diverse, versatile economic, environmental, social, as well as around 50 million people. So in my talk, I will be talking about two nightmares of the states of Uttarakhand. One is Kedarnath, 2013. Some of my previous speaker, Dr. Mehta, has also discussed this tragedy. And another one that I will be discussing is Chamoli tragedy, Chamoli disaster of 2020. This incident brought to light the flaws in our collective disaster preparedness, in our basically our understanding the vulnerability of our Himalaya. And this event also serves as a clear reminder that while development concerns are unquestionably we need development, but development is inevitable. But at the same time, aspects of long-term development are also crucial. So we have to go for deployment, but a sustainable one, sustainable deployment. So our deployment should not be part of destruction to our ecosystem, but uh, it should be a sustainable one. So coming to the Kedarnath tragedy that occurred in 2013, it caused enormous damage, it caused destruction, loss of life, and the incidents also raised various questions about our disaster preparedness, our strategies about mitigation, risk reduction in context of economic patterns, and the reason it had its greatest tragedy in June 2013 with severe devastation, and this incident it occurred during the Char Dham Yatra, which is basically the busiest season for tourism and pilgrimism, as Uttarakhand is one of the tourist and pilgrimage state, and the rainfall it range from heavy to very heavy across the state's entire territory, and as a result, flash floods, landslide, they have occurred throughout a large area, and Uttarakhand and its surrounding territory, they receive a lot of rainfall during that period, and it was nearly 375% higher than what average rainfall during a regular monsoon would have been during that period. And one this is the satellite view of Kedarnath, that is showing its drainage system, glaciers, lakes, and townships. And coming to the impact of that tragedy, Kedarnath tragedy 2013, basically overcrowding the name of tourism only added to the strain on the Kedarnath, the snow-capped mountains, and this Mandakini, and there's Saraswati River that surround the Kedarnath, the devastating Kedarnath flood. It devastated the whole valley of the Kedarnath and other portion of Uttarakhand downstream. Heavy rain and then cloud bursts on the enormous glacial lake precipitated the flash flood and the Kedarnath temple, which is located on the Mandakini river banks, as well as the traveled Saraswati River, where and the main basically the main cause of this Kedarnath flood tragedy was massive cloudburst, and the area around this Kedarnath temple it experienced horrifying devastation because of its proximity to the Chorabari glaciers that was also highlighted by previous speaker. And in this incident, more than 5,000 people that this incident took the life of more than 5,000 people. Thousands of were injured, and numbers of landslides downstream were activated due to this incidents, and enormous damage to structures, infrastructures was also caused. And this event also set the tourism that constitute around 30% of the state income. And due to this unpredictable weather condition in the region, the rescue operation had become a risky event in its and the rescuer had many difficulties due to the mountainous terrain, due to the lack of accessibility in the majority of the routes. And the other event, Chamoli disaster of Feb 2021. Grim reminder of the Kedarnath 2013 tragedy, which wreaked havoc on the ecological sensitive Himalaya region, and unlike the catastrophe of Kedarnath, which occurred after a violent downpour and the breaking of a glacier lake, this tragedy of Chamoli disaster in Feb 20 occurred on a bright and sunny morning. It was Sunday morning of around 10:50 to 10:30 a.m. And the area was jolted with a glacial tragedy, and the impact of this event was felt hundreds of kilometers downstream through Chamoli. Basically, we had opportunity to visit after this incident to the affected area, and our field visit we talked the local administrator, we talked the local people there, and according to them, a cloud of dust followed by flash flood. It consists of enormous debris. It's that shutter the area, and within few minutes, starting from the Rishi Ganga and Rocky Nala to downstream to the Chimoli, it was filled with the debris, and basically this disaster it engulfed more than 200 people, and it apart from engulfing those precious human life, this event also devastated this infrastructure. It swept away the Rishi Ganga hydropower project, as well as also damaged the NTPC's construction hydropower project in the Pawan area. Further, it also destroyed around 6 to 7 bridges in the area that, as well as it also affect a total of 13 villages of Joshimat. And beside human loss of human lives and devastation of infrastructure, it also have impact on the livestock of the local villagers. And adding to the vulnerability, landslide dam lake was also formed at the confluence of Rishi Ganga and Nala. As you can see, the power plant was completely this power plant was completed. It was completely functional. The workers from the different regions like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Nepal, they were at the power plant for maintenance purpose, and the area was fully integrated in debris that completely destroy the infrastructure structures that was developed at this particular place. As you can see, the figure. This is food of the event, and after the tragedy, this was the scenario at that particular place. So this disaster it didn't have much impact on the local communities besides that of tourists. The main impact of this disaster was the linking bridge of the area. It got devastated, and another major point was that devastation to the infrastructure structures like hydropower projects. Around 20 to 35 people were trapped by debris inside the tunnel of under constructed hydropower project in the Pawan of NTPC, and this event it barely give any opportunity to people in that tunnel to save their lives. And the incurrence of that debris that filled the tunnel, that filled the whole area, it includes like it was consist of huge boulders, pebbles, cobbles, and sit along with water. And it velocity multifolded the devastation power of the flow, and the movement of that debris. It was so strong that its impact on the confluence of Dholi Ganga and Rishi Ganga river. It was about 62 meters, and the flow even moved upstream of for a long distance of about 1 kilometer along the Dholi Ganga river from the confluence near Rani village. And the impact of this disaster was so deep that on hearing any loud noise, people rush to save lives without knowing actual source of that sound, actual cause of any sound. This event also raised a question in the mind of localites about the safety of their village, about the safety of their belongings. And as per the local, this event, the Chumari 2021, it was one of the major event after the flood in year 1970. So the sum of the takeaways that we have gathered from our field, we said that we need to reassess. There is need to reassessment of the vulnerability of area, as I mentioned that after the flood in 1970, this was the major catastrophic event in the region. So no one has any clue of the impending disaster. Therefore, we need to reassess the vulnerability of such areas periodically. Yes, that is the necessity of the hour. And of course, climate change, impact of climate change on huge ice masses. And we need to also assess the impact of climate change on the glaciers and the dearth of rainfall and snowfall in basically in the winter season. That is, it is a sign of that there is some alteration in the climate conditions. So there is need to understand what will be the impact of these changes on the glaciers. So apart from this, we also need to adopt for sustainable development approach. As I mentioned, that development is inevitable, but at the same time, aspects of long-term development, they are also crucial. So we need to focus on development without destruction, and for that, every activities related to this development activities, it should take into account the disaster destruction and resilience as highlighted by our honorable scientist 10-point agenda. The very first agenda of that agenda is we need to mainstream the DRR into our development activities and mainstreaming this DRR at every step of development stage. And this event also highlighted the dearth of early warning of disasters that was precious human lives. So the event was sudden, yet a robust monitoring of the glacier would have been handy to provide early warnings so that the downstream community, downstream communities and many lives would have been saved. There would have been a robust early warning system. So this I conclude my talk, and what do you, sir?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anil Kumar. Beautiful presentation over you have given about the Himalaya, and that especially it is also the you have talked nicely about the Kedarnath tragedy as well as the 2013 and this 2021. So, and what are the probabilistic and what we should do also, we have given some hints, and the devastated way that it has washed out the NTPC power plant and what are the casualties. Beautifully you have highlighted to our participants nicely. Overall, it is a very beautiful presentation, and you have kept your promise on the time, your promise on the time bound also. You have finished in time. So let me see if any question is there or not.
Sure, sir.
No, Mr. Anil Kumar, so far I could not get any question right now. If at all, then I will let you know, and accordingly the answer will be provided to the attendees. So
Sure.
now it is the end time to put our this vote of thanks to that. Now the first lecture which was supposed to be, it could not be materialized right now. Now will be put this lecture on in the next month. Whenever the other lecture will be there, we'll put this lecture for our participant. Now I'll put my vote of thanks. So this, despite of lot of, the hurdles, we have succeeded. That beautiful lectures are given by the two eminent speaker over the GLOF, that is beautiful topic, Glacial Lake outburst. What a painful, who are there in this Himalayan region, they can realize, and of course, we have seen that in the newspaper and the TV, what are the scenarios. So on this topic, that efficient speaker, that Dr. Manish Mehta and this colleague, Mr. ex-colleague, Mr. Anil Kathet, have beautifully explained to the participants. Now, for this event, that we are thankful to our executive director and it is Taj Hassan Sahab, who has made this platform, and we are trying to following him. We are trying to following this technicality to reach this online and offline training program to the stakeholder and participants. So we should put thanks to our executive director. Next is this head of division, Professor Surya Prakash. He made us so congenial atmosphere that we should provide the beautiful lecture and beautiful topic to this participant and the stakeholders. So we are thankful to you, sir. And the heartfelt thanks are this landed speaker, this Dr. Manish Mehta, Mr. Anil Kumar, and Ramchand. Of course, he has tried. Still, then he is also eligible to put. We should put the thanks to him. Next time he will mature all the things, and also the attendees. They are peacefully listen to us and raise certain questions. So a great thanks to them also, and that our IT team of this NIDM, they are supporting us, and also so I put my acknowledge to them, and also this our colleague and as well as the panelists who are with us to make the program success and for support the program. So I put my heartfelt thanks to them also. So now it is we'll complete this session, and if at all any question will raise, then let you know, and also the answers will be available. I'll try to ask the answer to this panelist as well as this learned speaker, and I'll supply to you. So I urge that definitely you please raise the question whenever it is there, and also please bear us if technicalities or technical snags are there. So what happened for today, at least 10-15 minutes we are there. So that was a technical problem, technical snag. We cannot do anything. But however, the session is continued, and beautiful lectures are provided by this learned speaker. So overall, thanks to everybody. If I've forgotten to name anybody, so I put my thanks to them. Now we'll end the program today here. And again, in the next month, we'll come with new energy and we'll come with new topics to you. Till then, we are bye-bye now. Now we'll put the event close here.